before. How wonderful. I would like to welcome you here to our wonderful city of Claremont. We're proud to host the award ceremony, and it's just fitting that we've entrusted our transportation to you folks, because with all that's going on in our city, we're going to keep growing, and we're going to keep changing, and our city's going to get better and better and better, and you're the folks that we need to really make better, so people can get to residences and to the stores and to all our events. So we want to keep on your good side. But thank you so much for coming. I know you'll be giving out awards to special people, and I honor them, as you will, and just have a good time. Enjoy our city. Come back just to visit, not just for meetings. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome up to the podium Commissioner from Sumter County, Don Honfeld. He will provide an invocation.
Thank you, TJ. Please join me in a brief prayer of invocation. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the many blessings bestowed upon us each and every day. Thank you for the leaders and this evening's honorees, whose commitment to development and safety of their respective cities and counties is enjoyed by all of us in this great state of Florida. A special thanks to our first responders who have dedicated themselves and risked their lives to protect us in times of our greatest need. And we pray, Father, that you keep a special watchful eye on the brave men and women who put themselves in harm's way to battle evil far from home, that they return safely, victorious, to their friends and family that miss them every single minute of every day, to a free America. Amen. Amen.
Please remain standing. We're going to say the pledge. Join me in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I too would like to welcome everybody here tonight to this wonderful event. My name is Sean Parks. I'm the outgoing chairman of the Lake Sumter MPO. I'm also serve as a Lake County Commissioner. And I just want to, again, on behalf of the governing board, welcome all our guests here tonight. It's a great city of Claremont. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think there's some great things planned tonight. We've got a great speaker. So I just want to provide a quick, brief overview. This is kind of like the last thing I'm going to be doing as your chairman. Then we're going to bring the new chairman up. I just wanted to give you a quick overview, especially for our guests, of some great things that were accomplished this year. Great things that your Lake and Sumter MPO has done. Let's start with beginning by the implementation of the Safe School Access Study. I think we all can agree, right? There's some real issues. There has been some issues about safe access to school for our kids, and we have really made some great progress this past year. All the data collection, the studying, the talking with people, learning where these problems are is now complete, and we're actually seeing our engineering department, the engineering department from both Lake and Sumter County, working, Public Works, working to address these issues. So you will now see the implementation of that in the next coming years, and it has been a great part of what the MPO has done. So I'm really, really pleased that we're now moving into the implementation phase. Hopefully we make Florida, Central Florida, Lake and Sumter counties a lot more pedestrian friendly. We've also very much promoted the Coast to Coast Trail, ultimately leading to, we believe, as being a significant leader and a part of its funding. And as you know, there are some missing gaps in that Coast to Coast Trail that are right here in Lake and Sumter County, and your Lake and Sumter MPO has been very instrumental in being leadership. I know TJ he's going to be modest about this, but I know many of you in TJ has spoke up and been a good leader and an advocate for the Coast to Coast Trail. And we all know, we should all give this a round of applause, definitely, how much that's going to mean to Lake County, especially South Lake, for economic development and quality of life, right?
Yeah. Woo-hoo!
Your Lake Sumter MPO has also provided GIS support and training to the City of Grove. Where's the City of Grove? City of Grove, right over here. Affording the city staff the ability to collect various types of data in the field using GIS. So there's that intergovernmental coordination, which we're doing very well, I think, especially in Lake County, or speaking for Lake County, where we are sharing information, reducing duplication of services, not acting in our own silos. It's a great example. We thank TJ, we thank Lake and Sumter MPO for that. We've also implemented a quarterly bus ride program for the Transportation for Disadvantaged board members, affording the board an opportunity to gain firsthand understanding of the operation side of the Transportation for Disadvantaged program. I'd also like to mention the Wellness Way, or the South Lake Sector Plan. We are now moving into kind of the implementation phase of that. We're awaiting final comments from the Department of Economic Opportunity. And that's been multi-agency. It's been the City of Claremont, Lake County, I know in particular. We also have our East Central Florida Regional Planning Council has been a part of that as well, DOT. And so we are very excited about that. I know our county commission is very excited about that plan moving into its implementation phase. And then finally, we can't forget the Mineola interchange and the leadership that the Lake Sumter MPO has provided for that as well. That's going to be a reality now, and that's going to forever change South Lake, I think, in very good ways. So we absolutely thank DOT for being part of that. So those are just some highlights. Enough of me. I'll just leave it at this, that it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to serve with our board members, all of you that are in here. I've learned something from, I think, most of you at least. Maybe not Ray, our chairman.
I'll break the diagram.
But no, I mean that sincerely. It's been quite an experience for me, and I believe in public service, and you are what you make of your community, and it's provided me an opportunity. It's been a true blessing for me to be in this position. And so I will miss that role, but I will be filling in another role. I'm happy to serve and help step up and serve the new chairman. So that being said, I'll call Mr. Goodgame up. Okay, now I'm supposed to officially hand this over to you. There's a little bit of a one over here.
I can trust it.
Yeah, that was officially yours.
Thank you, Sean, and we have a plaque to you for the leadership and guidance of this group. And we wish you well. Don't think you're off the hook. We're still going to call you. You still got to come down and help us. For y'all who don't know, Sean and I have had a little battle going on between Lake Orange Expressway, Parkway, to connect US 27 to 429 through the sector plan. And that's TJ and my name for it. Then we have another name that Sean Parks has for it called Wellness Way, because this is a Wellness Way sector plan.
Everybody likes that. They all applaud it for well.
I'll tell you, now, I was at Harry Barley's Metro Plan Orlando meeting, and I explained to them the name of this parkway. And I said, if you're coming from Lake County and going into Orange, it's called the Lake Orange Expressway. If you're coming from Orange County to Lake County, it's the Orange Lake Parkway. And I got applause for that. But they promised to help fund it, so that's better. But thank you again, Sean, and it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm sure we'll continue. What I would like to do now as a new chairman is to present got the plaque. So we're going to call the executive committee forward, and that's Leslie Campion, Commissioner Leslie Campion. Come forward, please. And Vice Chairman and Treasurer Ryan Donovan from the City of Mount Dora. And the second Vice
Chairman Don Burgess from Sumter County. Don and I have worked together for, I don't know, his wife and I met his wife before I met Don. She was chairman of, she was on the Habitat Commit board, and I joined Habitat on the board, and then she was chairman, and then I was chairman, and that goes on and on. And then there's past chairman Sean Parks, honorable Sean Parks, and Representative at Large David Nagel from the town of Howie on the Hills. He's not here. He didn't leave. And then there's Sumter County Representative at Large Bill Spadell of West Mountain. And he's not here. So this is it. We still have a quorum.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new officers for 2015, will you give them applause? All right, we're on schedule so far. That's everyone that knows me is going, can you really pull this off? Yes, I can. What I'm going to have you do tonight, at this point, is it's time to eat. I'm going to play some music for you, let you eat, and then we'll get the program started after everybody's back at their table. So, we need to start first with our two head tables, if you would. Please line up. You get to go first. And that means you literally have to stand up and go. And if you would, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start the annual Horizon Awards dinner at the Lake Sumter MPO. Thank you for that applause at table 7. All right, I want to get started. Everybody's got their food, it's great. What do y'all think of the entertainment tonight?
Excellent. Very good.
Good friends of mine, Jim Rass, Randy Paul, they play all over Florida, and I just thought that was a perfect fit for tonight, so I hope you're enjoying the music, and when we wrap up, we'll play a few more songs as everyone exits the building. So I want to jump right into our program, into our keynote address. So what I'm going to do is our title sponsor, I'm going to have Stan Can from Jacobs come up here and do the introduction. I want to recognize Jacobs. It's always important when we do this event that one of our partners from the private sector steps up each year and is our title sponsor. So I want to recognize Jacobs for that and turn it over to Stan. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to have the honor of introducing a keynote speaker this evening. And it's special for me because not only of the time, the long time that Billy and I spent together in Florida DOT, but also because we were both District 1 secretaries. Can you imagine Billy going 2 District 1 guys sitting here in District 5? Don't sound right. Billy Hathaway is District Secretary for District 1 of the Florida Department of Transportation. District 1 is made up of 12 counties in southwest Florida. He's got 35 years of transportation and program management experience with the Florida Department of Transportation and the private sector. In addition to his responsibilities as the District Secretary, he is the champion, keyword champion, for Secretary Jim Buxall's pedestrian and bicycle-focused initiative to improve pedestrian and bicyclist safety in the state of Florida. There's not more focus been put on bicycle and pedestrian safety as far back as I can remember, and I can remember. His professional experience includes transportation planning, street design, safety and traffic analysis for a wide variety of transportation projects, including the redevelopment, transit-oriented development, and master plan charrette projects to create walkable, bike and transit-friendly communities. To support local government in their goals to create developments that are more supportive of pedestrians and bicyclists, he was the author of the new traditional neighborhood development chapter for the Florida Green Book. Billy wrote the book. I'm very, very pleased to introduce Billy Hathaway.
Thank you. One thing I need to figure out now is how do I change the slides. Good evening. It's great to be here, and thank you very much, Stan. when the secretary asked me to come back to the agency, and he tells this story pretty well before he left, is that one of the things that he used to get me to come back, I've been gone for 10 years working in the private sector all over the country, was that he used leading this initiative to improve bike and pit safety, to twist my arm to get me to come back, because he knows when I was the state roadway design engineer, that safety was a big focus of mine. And we're going to explain to you why he asked me to come on board. So, I guess I'm going to stay at mic. So, what's that? Can I take the mic with me? I wander much better. As long as I can work with this. So, back in 2011, just before I became the district secretary, an organization called Smart Growth America came out with a report called Dangerous by Design. There's another report that's come out recently, 2014. And in that report, it said 4 of our regions, our 4 cities, Orlando, Orange County, and these other regions, were in the top 5 most dangerous places in the country for pedestrians and bicyclists. And while we at the department have always been proud of being #1 in a lot of areas, as the secretary put it, this is not a place we want to be #1. And so he committed a lot of resources and support to me in getting us out of this position. So when we first started, we identified the top 10 counties. That's what he asked us to do. And you can see those counties here, of course. The Orlando, Orange County area is one of the top in the country. But we've got quite a few others spread throughout the state. And as we've worked over the last couple of years, I guess messed up. And as we've worked and looked at the data over the last couple of years, when we looked at the data, it just made sense for us to go ahead and push up 5 more counties. So we're now working on the top 15 counties in the state of Florida where we have challenges with bicyclists and pedestrians, and you can see those additional counties. So literally every district in the state, all 7 geographic districts, have at least 1 county where we have significant problems with bike and pedals. And so how are we going to get the problem fixed? Certainly we have to deal with the existing problems that we have out on the corridors, but we can't keep doing what we've been doing from an engineering standpoint and expect different results. So we've got to do things differently. And so I'm not going to talk about this whole list, but I'm going to hit a few key points. We've got to change the culture within our organization and the design community in order for us to do things differently. And so in September of this past year, we adopted our first agency's complete streets policy, and we'll be working with, in fact, this week we will sign a memorandum of understanding with Smart Growth America, the same organization that put out the report, Dangerous by Design. They're volunteering their time. They're basically doing for free an implementation process over a number of meetings to help us implement our complete streets policy in all of our planning and design guidance. So this is a big change in the way we do business. One of the things that we've done as engineers, by and large, is we've had a one-size-fits-all approach to doing street design. And that's not really working, especially when you get into communities like Claremont and Leesburg and other small towns. We should be treating the state roads the same way in that context that we do on the interstate highway or in a more rural context. So part of this change in complete streets is to use a context-based approach to doing street design. So when we do a street design in a compact urban downtown, we will likely be using, instead of 12-foot lanes, which is what we have used everywhere, period, we will likely use, for example, 10-foot lanes. Because there's no need to have those types of lane widths in the compact urban downtown. And so everything, both our bike and ped facilities, will be treated differently based on the context that we're in. Another thing that we've done is we've promoted the use of roundabouts. We actually had the second roundabout guide in the country as a DOT in '96, but we never made any progress in implementing them on the state road system, despite the fact, and we now have data in the U.S. Back then, most of the data was European and Australian, that you end up with a 90% reduction in fatalities, a 75% reduction in serious injuries. So they're a proven measure to improve safety. And so every district has been required to have in design or in construction within their 5-year adopted work program model roundabouts on the state road system. We only had 2 districts that actually had roundabouts on the state road system. In District 1, we had 14 in process, 7 in the rural areas where we have safety problems. In fact, our first rural roundabout that we're putting in for safety purposes will be let next month in Polk County. And then the other thing is that we have been doing road diets on the state system. Only a handful of districts were really supportive of doing it. Again, this is a proven countermeasure to improve safety on the transportation system. And when we did that, we always required the local governments to take those roads over and maintain and operate them once the road diet is in place. We now have new policy guidance that came out just a couple of months ago that basically provides guidance for how to do road diets. And this automatic requirement for local governments to take them over is not going to be put into that document. Basically, when we had that discussion at the Secretary Staff meeting, my position was, you know, if we want to have a discussion about whether or not a road should be on the state system, that's a separate conversation from whether or not we should be doing a road diet. Because most local governments want to do them for redevelopment purposes, and so we should be supporting those things. And then finally on here is updating the traffic laws. And I'm just going to show you quickly. This is an example of the law, in state law, that defines what a crosswalk is. So first of all, how can we expect the public to know what the laws are? And how can we expect law enforcement to understand what the laws are and enforce them when the laws are written in such a way that nobody can understand what the heck they mean? So over the next 2 years, we're going to be in the process of rewriting the laws, putting them in plain language, and fixing some of the laws that just don't make sense. Do you know that when you walk across a marked crosswalk, that if you're not on the right side of the crosswalk, you're breaking the law? Now, who is going to enforce that? No one, right? So those are the things we need to get out of the law. So how are we going to support this culture change? Well, we've been doing a lot of training. We're very fortunate that because we're one of the focus states, Federal Highway has been providing the training that you see at the top of this list for free to us as a state agency. So we've been doing this training across the state in all of our districts, inviting in local governments. We're going to continue to do this during the coming year once the Federal Highway Administration gets a budget that goes beyond May, because they don't have a budget in place, authorized budget in place beyond May. They can't commit to continue the training this year, but we'll get it going once again. And then as it relates to the existing traffic problems, what we're doing is using what's called a 3E approach. When we have our high crash corridors, we're always going to be looking at what engineering solutions can we put in place to help mitigate the crash problem. And then once we put those in place, we'll also work with law enforcement to help us initially go out and do law enforcement for the purposes of education, which generally means warnings. So go out and educate the public, both pedestrians and bicyclists and motorists, on what the laws are. And then if we don't see compliance rates going up, then we'll bring in law enforcement and start issuing tickets. Because we've got to change the behavior or else we're going to continue to have the problems that we have. So what are the contributing factors to the problems that we have in the state of Florida? We have a real challenge because most of our cities grew up after World War II. And certainly from a transportation perspective, all of us in the transportation industry have contributed to the problem because we were focused on moving cars. I mean, that was our challenge for many, many, many years. And so, and I took this shot of a young lady walking her twins on Fowler Avenue, which has sidewalks, by the way, now, but did not when I took this picture about 10 years ago. But there's also a challenge in that those of you that work in local government also contribute to this problem. And we see this throughout the state of Florida. In my district, for example, on the top half of the slide is the way the vast majority of our land development patterns happen over the last 50 to 60 years, where, as I put it, when I talk to the folks in my district, where it's an example in Lee County, literally every development is cul-de-sac onto the arterial system. And so that puts pressure on the system and makes the roads wider and wider. because every single trip has to go out onto the arterial, and that will normally get from point A to point B. On the lower half of the slide is the way we built communities back before World War II, before obviously fuel was cheap and land was cheap and development was happening at a very rapid pace. And we also had a mix of uses. So while people may still choose to drive from place to place, they had more than one way to get there from here. And I'll show you an example of a redevelopment project here locally that you can check out. Okay, so let's say, for example, we start working on those things. We also have an issue with land development regulation. I mean, you can have nice windy sidewalks and trees. You can have a transit system and bike lanes on this road, but who's going to walk in this environment? And as we've all seen over the years, buildings, retail have been moved back further and further away from the road. And we're starting to see changes, and we're starting to see that development brought back out to the road. But for many, many years, all of our buildings were set back far from the road. So people, again, are not going to walk in this environment, especially in Florida. And about a year ago, I stumbled on this information. I wasn't aware personally of the issues related to schools. What I found out was that in many parts of the country, we have minimum acreage requirements for schools, which is why we keep moving schools further and further out, because the land is cheaper and you can get large plots of land. My high school was on about 18 acres and it was 3 stories high. And we had a football field and we parked. Those of us who could drive to high school had to park on the street because we didn't have a surface parking lot, you know, with acres and acres of parking for the kids. And you can see the result of that. Obviously, very, very few kids can walk to school these days. A big challenge that we have as it relates to vulnerable users, pedestrians and bicyclists, is that when you get hit at 40 miles an hour, which is the posted speed on most of our arterial systems, you have a 90% chance of being killed. Not a very good chance. And obviously, if you survive, you're probably going to be left with a life-altering injury that's going to affect your ability or something. So we've got a real challenge. And so how are we going to address these problems? Part of what we have to deal with from an engineering standpoint is what we call driver expectation. If you'll notice, when you drive across the country, all of our signing is consistent so that drivers know when they go from state to state, oh yeah, this is a stop sign. It's the same as the stop sign in my state. Well, one of the things that we have not done a good job of, because we've had this one-size-fits-all approach to street design, is dealing with driver expectation and speed. Now this street, which I drove in Tallahassee for many, many years, I won't tell you how many, but I used to commute on this road every day going back and forth to work from out in the suburbs into the downtown. And there's residential neighborhoods on both sides of this street. The posted speed limit is 35 miles an hour. So how many of you think that people drive 35 miles an hour? Nobody drives 35 miles an hour on the street. And in fact, I clocked someone doing 60 miles an hour. When I went out with the city of Tallahassee police one Friday evening, they wouldn't even stop people driving less than 50 miles an hour. So if you were driving below 50, they wouldn't stop you in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. It's one of their hot spots for speeding. So we've got some challenges in that we've got to design our streets differently than we have, again, based on context. And what we're going to do as it relates to bike and peds, but all of these tools benefit motorists, not just the bike and peds. I'm going to talk quickly about the countermeasures. 2 of the countermeasures we talked about were road diets and modern roundabouts. Here's a typical example, and I worked on a project in Tallahassee called Gain Street that ended up being redeveloped as a result of the road diet I worked on. Over $30 million of investment in that corridor in less than a year once the road diet was put in place. But this is in Asheville, North Carolina, and you can see the before condition, and this is what it looks like today. And that's the kind of transformation that's happened on Gain Street. Once all the construction gets done, I'll go back and do a similar picture for that corridor as well. And so these are the things that local governments want to achieve in their downtowns. I'm working with District 5 on a corridor where we're doing a study to look at doing a road diet on the state road system. Again, the city is very interested in helping do some redevelopment along parts of that corridor, similar to what you see here. We have been providing accommodations for pedestrians. We have not been doing a good job. Generally, our refuge islands were just an island stuck in a 5-lane section as an example, with no ADA ramps, no markings or anything like that. And then we expected the pedestrians to get across, and at least we provided a place for them to stand until they could get a gap in the traffic. We're going to be going to more and more to these types of mid-block crossings that are fully accessible, that have pavement markings, and we'll be using one of these two treatments and one other. The rectangular rapid flashing beacon, you may have seen some of these around the state. These are very effective, and we'll be using them on 2- and 4-lane roadways, again, to provide for pedestrian crossing because it gets the driver's attention. They're very, very effective. And then the pedestrian hybrid beacon for 6-lane roadways or a full pedestrian signal. So these are treatments that we've already are in the process of putting recommendations together that will be more liberal in terms of where we put them than we have historically. You heard the chapter, the T&D chapter mentioned earlier. This is in the Florida Green Book, which is used by local governments to do their street design unless they have their own design standards. And the Green Book Committee a few years ago asked me to make a presentation because they were struggling with how do we do street design for things other than suburban development patterns. And so I came in and made a presentation when I was in the private sector and promptly left to fly off to work on the project. Don't ever do that because what happened was they selected me unanimously to be the chapter author. So that's how I ended up being the chapter author. And there's both the Green Book chapter itself and also a handbook that's educational and very heavily illustrated to show how to do the traditional types of development patterns that we did before World War II. We're moving away not only in the Green Book from having this highest speed as practical approach to design to having a target speed. So again, based on context, if we want to achieve a 25 or 35 mile-an-hour speed in a more compact urban environment, we need to change the way we do street design in order to achieve those goals. Most of our designs, if we were designing for a road that we were going to push at 45, we might design it for 50 or 55 miles an hour. And then we would wonder why people were driving 50 or 55 miles an hour. So again, changing our culture and the way we do street design. Now, how fast do you think people drive on this street in Charleston, South Carolina? Not even 10, barely moving. And notice there's no speed limit signs. Now, obviously, this is an extreme case, but the point is that we can design streets that send a clear message to the driver that they need to behave differently. And I've got a couple of examples. And this is just a sample table out of the T&D chapter. It says, you know, if you want to achieve speeds in this range, these are the features that you need to do differently. And it's not just the street design, because the street design alone will not get you there. It's also the adjacent land development patterns. This is Robinson Street in downtown Orlando. Lots of times I have local governments come to me and say, you know, we want to get the speeds down on this corridor, and if you'll just reduce the lane widths, then people will drive slow. Well, that would be wonderful if that was the case, but that is not the case. So this is, notice how this section of Robinson Street feels. It feels pretty suburban. You've got the office building set back from the road. You have Lake Eola on the other side. There's a ton of pedestrians that cross the street every day. And so there's very high pedestrian activity, and the district is looking at this to try to reduce crashes, looking at doing a road diet. So they've got a study on this project. So if lane widths would solve the problem, these are 9.5-foot lanes. Remember I said we typically use 12-foot lanes. These are true 9.5-foot lanes. There's not even gutter canon on this street. The edge line is right against the curb, and yet people drive 45 and 50 miles an hour on the street. For those of you who live there, you know, I live a block off of this street, by the way. Now look at this street across Lake Eola. Almost the exact same curb-to-curb dimensions as Robinson Street. Now it has on-street parking, obviously, right? Which is one of the things we'll look at doing on Robinson Street. Notice the buildings with the back of sidewalk. And even though this lane is actually wider than the lanes on Robinson Street because of the on-street parking, you notice that BMW is cheating towards the center line because of the uncertainty related to on-street parking. So people drive slow on this street. So those are the ways that you get speed management. This is in Baldwin Park. These are actually 12-foot lanes. Again, because of the on-street parking, you create that uncertainty for the driver. They're going to be more cautious than if you have this free flow condition. So we can get there, but we're going to have to do things differently. I talked about development patterns, having a densely gridded network of streets so that you have lots of ways to get around. Having buildings at the back of sidewalk creates a very inviting pedestrian environment. That's Park Avenue in Winter Park. This is a project I send a lot of people to. It's not perfect, but there's a lot right in Baldwin Park. And one of the big things is that they have 32 connections to the adjacent street network. And so even as many people, I mean, that's a pretty good sized village, 14,000 residents. There's no 4-lane roads in Baldwin Park, and there's no signals because there's a lot of ways to get in and out, and you don't have congestion in Baldwin Park. And look at all the amenities within Baldwin Park: public, CVS, high school, middle school, elementary school, and pre-K, all within Baldwin Park. And lots of people drive within Baldwin Park still, but they have lots of ways to get around and accomplish their errands and those kinds of things. So when we talk about context, we've got to introduce a new idea to our engineers. Most of our engineers, because of the way we talk about context, years ago, they think context, basically doing context-sensitive design is landscaping the edges. But that's, to me, that's like putting lipstick on a gorilla. It's still a gorilla. So when we talk about context, we've got to do a better job. And this is a planning tool that's not proprietary, that's available for use. And we're using the Smart Code, which was also used in an ITE guide, a similar ITE guide, to define context. So our engineers know how to design context. And I'll just go through these quickly, just to illustrate what we're talking about. As a more urban environment, you've got to treat the streets and the edges and the sidewalks and the bike facilities all different based on context. And of course, this is Lake Villa and downtown. So we're talking about, especially for redevelopment projects, what I'm finding in my district is on our older corridors like US 41, 1792, and District 5, local governments are wanting to redevelop these corridors, and many times you're involving large plots of land, sometimes you're not. So when you're looking at redeveloping and you want to achieve these kinds of goals, again, putting in a highly connected street network, and not every redevelopment project has to be big. This is a street in Winter Park. It's just a few blocks that they redevelop, and you have mixed use with residential upstairs and retail downstairs. This is a fairly new project. And so these are things that can be achieved. And there was a time when I first started working on these types of projects, when I left the department last time, it was very difficult to get national retailers into these kinds of environments. This is the store where my wife spends our money on groceries. It's on the ground floor of a condo building. This is not a standalone Publix. In fact, it was the first one in the state that was not a standalone Publix on the ground floor of a condo building and has no surface parking lot. It shares a small parking garage space with the other retail on that lot. And it's very successful. And you may have seen in USA Today in the last month or so, Walmart is now looking at 50,000 square foot neighborhood stores. So there is a market for the smaller scale retail. Having neighborhood schools again, this is the school where my daughter taught. Their school buses deliver kids to the school. Obviously some parents drive and they have what called walking neighborhood school buses where parents take turns walking the kids to school. But it requires a smaller scale of school, obviously. Having neighborhood parks. We have a place for regional parks. We need regional parks. Having neighborhood parks in communities. Downtown Orlando is filled with neighborhood parks. In fact, I live across the street from one, so that people can meet their neighbors and hang out. It's just a great thing to do as part of the redevelopment project. I'm going to show you quickly a project I was a project manager on. This is a corridor south of Tallahassee. This community wanted to reclaim its village characteristics. It had become suburban because their land development patterns didn't allow anything else but suburban development, with retail setback, parking lots, and water retention areas out front, and they didn't want to continue those development patterns. So we came up with a master plan to show them how things could be done differently and to work with them to convert their community back into a community that meant something to them. sidewalks and street trees, obviously, which help, again, to create a sense of enclosure, and then bringing the buildings back up to the sidewalk. So, you know, to just fix that street wouldn't have gotten them there. They've got to change the lane development patterns as well. One more, this is a large-scale version. This is a 200-foot right-of-way. Notice that you have higher speed lanes on the inside and then frontage roads on the outside. This is another project I worked on in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And we were asked by the business community and the residents to come in and provide a counter proposal to the city manager's proposal to put in interchanges at every single one of those intersections. And so we came up with this plan. The businesses along the edges were failing, and so we said make that two-way street, one way, and this is where you provide access to the businesses, and it doesn't have any impact on the road carrying capacity of the mainline roadways inside. To provide for on-street parking. They already had land development regulations to bring the buildings up, so they'd already started that, and obviously that has to continue. Put the state tree in the median. Now, notice that these side paths are multi-use paths, and so you have shade for the people using that, and likewise you need street trees for shade along the edges. And then, of course, what happens? The people show up. And what we did here, we didn't modify the pavement edges by more than about a foot to achieve this plan. And we left enough room in the median for either future premium transit or for 2 additional travel lanes. And so this is a way to maintain the capacity on a large roadway and yet still create a complete street. But again, it takes all of us to make these things happen. And with that, that's what I have for you this evening.
See if there happen to be any questions. I want to emphasize something. We picked this topic on purpose because the MPO, we've been around for 11 years, and some people have accused us of planning things for the car and the truck. We don't do that. We actually plan things for the human. So it's a very important distinction that we are there. This is the 21st century. This is the second decade. We're halfway through the second decade of the 21st century, and we've learned that what we did after 1950 it wasn't really for the human, was it? So when our subdivisions have no sidewalks and our kids are suffering from obesity and don't walk to school anymore for various reasons, let me stop there for a minute and say, elected officials, this is for you. This is to give you just enough in your toolbox to know, I think there's probably a better way to do some of this stuff. So any questions of Secretary Hadaway, please.
I'll just say one thing. Our bike paths that we've got on our roads are this wide. When you rode a bicycle when you were a kid, did you ride side by side? And the answer is yes. And these bike paths need to be twice as wide, or at least twice as wide as they are.
And that's a great question. That sets me up perfectly. As part of our context-based approach to street design, one of the things we're going to do is treat bike facilities different based on context. We'll be using context, the street volume and speed, and designing our facilities based on those conditions. I ride about 3,500 miles a year. I lead a 40-mile group ride every Saturday, and so I've had a lot of experience riding and also being involved with bike facility design. And so in a place like New Broad Street in downtown in downtown Baldwin Park, you really don't need a bike lane on a street like that. In fact, the bike lane can have negative consequences. If it's next to the parked cars, you're putting the bicyclists in the door zone, which is not a safe condition. And you're also making the street wider. In fact, in Baldwin Park, if you go there, you'll see streets that have bike lanes next to the door zone, and those streets feel much wider, and they have a problem with the residents speeding on those streets. They don't have any problems with their speeding on New Broad Street. But then where we do have bike lanes, we now have, let me see if I can get to this quickly. Basically, the way our bike lanes are designed today on the state road system, when we have a curb and gutter section, that gives you a 1.5 foot somewhat flat space, and then we put a 4-foot bike lane next to that. That's been our standard for a very long time, and that's not adequate, especially on a higher speed road. So we now have developed a 7-foot standard bike lane, a buffered bike lane that will have a double edge line next to it, and we're going to be able to put those on new construction projects and on resurfacing projects. Let's say, for example, we have a 4-lane road, and the speed limits are, the speeds are 45 miles an hour below. When we resurface that corridor, we'll take a foot out of each travel lane and put that width into the bike lane. So we'll have a 6-foot buffered bike lane on a 4-lane road. If it's a 6-lane road with 45 miles an hour below, we'll take a foot out of each travel lane. That'll make a 7-foot buffered bike lane, all only by moving the stripes. Okay? And then what we're looking at, the other thing that we're looking at is that where we have these higher speed, higher volume roads where essentially the recreational cyclist is never going to get out in the bike lane, what we're going to be looking at during this coming year is putting in a minimum 10-foot side path outside the pavement, outside the curb and gutter section, in order for pedestrians and bicyclists to use that space. Because what we have happening, for example, in Orlando at 436, if you've got bicyclists and pedestrians who are using the transit system sharing a 5-foot sidewalk, and it's not adequate. So those are the things that we're proposing to do.
Any other questions? Because I'm telling you, when you approve those annexations of that new PUD and that new subdivision plat's coming, you better be thinking about how the humans are going to interact and how they get from those houses to that school and how they get to shopping and their jobs. This is part of what happens when you become elected. You have to look at that stuff and you trust your staff to give you good recommendations. But that's the point. We're making a transition right now from the old way to the new way. And Secretary Hathaway being put in that position for the Florida Department of Transportation at a statewide level, complete streets is here. So let's enact it. Thank you very much, Billy Hathaway. Oh, one more thing, Billy. Acknowledging you as our keynote speaker. A little Florida art for you. So thank you so much for doing this. And on the back is memorialized. Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so you get a feel for why this was the theme of the night. Again, planning transportation for humans. I want you to go home tonight and actually go, you know, that is a pretty good idea. We probably should consider the humans and not just the trucks and cars. The next thing I want to do is, there are so many elected officials in this room, it would take me 20 minutes, so we're not going to do it. But what I am going to do is recognize a few dignitaries. You've already heard from our executive committee, including our chair, Ray Goodgame, and our past chair, Sean Parks. You've heard from our officer, or you've seen our officers, Commissioner Campione from Lake County, Commissioner Burgess from Sumter County. I want to recognize a couple other people. Pam Jones, thank you for being here on behalf of Congressman Webster. Have you all been keeping up with Congressman Webster? Have you really been keeping up? Because if you're watching what Congressman Webster's doing, it's not just for his district. He's changing the conversation in Congress right now. And I think that's very important. A couple things to know coming up. He's doing a special presentation, and there's going to be at the Leesburg Partnership on Thursday, which is tomorrow at 9 o'clock. You can see Congressman Webster there, and then also here in Claremont at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And basically, come to hear about the practical steps he's taken with his office budget and the legislation he's approved. And you all do know that he was nominated for House Speaker, right? Do you know how big of a deal that is? Here in Florida, in our district, the one we're sitting in. So please, Congressman Webster, let Pam know she can go home and say, they really like you. Where's that applause? Seriously. A couple other people I want to recognize. Ryan Donovan, stand up for a moment. I want to recognize him as chair of our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Steve Farrell, what did you think of his music, those of you that got here early? All right, he is our chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Very important group of real people that help us, help advise us on what we're doing. And then next up, I want to recognize Thad Carroll from Lady Lake. He is our Technical Advisory Committee chair. Thank you so much. That's all been from 2014, and they give us their service, and we appreciate that. I now am looking to see if Francis is ready. Actually, Stan, where are you?
I'm right
You've
here.
got the microphone already, right? All right. Stan, I want you to stand up as our title sponsor, Jacobs. And I want you to give us a few thoughts as title sponsor and introduce your team.
Thank you, TJ. Once again, Stan Kane with Jacobs. By the way, thank you for the opportunity to be your title sponsor. It's a real honor to be able to help such a great organization, such a great event too. It's really good. Jacobs is a full-service transportation planning and engineering company. Our Florida planning staff is composed of really more than 25 professionals, some of which are here with me tonight. Just to introduce them to you, we've got Ned Bear, Scott Pringle, Michael Drew, Billy Jacoby, Jennifer Straw, and Tomo Lucy. And the one empty chair here is someone that you all know is Abra Horn. We're very excited that Abra decided to join Jacobs a couple of months ago. I've known Abra for more than 20 years. She's fantastic in the transportation planning industry. She helped arrange for our sponsorship of your event. And she got a call from a client he needed. And she responded as she always does, that she would rather be here. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Stan. Thank you, Jacob, so much for being our title sponsor. And I hope that you'll understand that we are a federally grant-funded agency. We get a little bit of extra money from the state to do transportation disadvantaged. We get some money from our local governments to help with traffic issues, traffic studies, traffic counts, that kind of thing. But this event is our one little sponsorship event where it's not federal money. We can actually use this to do special stuff. Like, for example, we have an opportunity right now with the Coast to Coast Trail to put some funds into a special study to make sure that from Titusville to St. Petersburg, this trail is unified. And so what you all, through the sponsorships tonight, thank you our sponsors, what you all have contributed is helping us do that. With that said, I'm going to look to the back, to the side of the room. I'm going to look to Mindy Heath with HDR Engineering, and I want to mention that they are a very special Horizon sponsor for many years. Mindy.
Thank you, TJ. Good evening, everyone. We're excited and pleased to continue our partnership with the MPO. I believe we've been working with the MPO since its formation several years ago. And I have here with me this evening several members of our team who worked on various projects. Jessica Dean, Steve Farrell, Jamie Kreminski, Jeff Arms, and Brian Roberick. And I just want to say, it gives me a little thrill when I come to these meetings and I hear people talking about the Safe Routes to School project. That was a project that HDR and Trans Systems worked on under Mike's leadership. And there's nothing we like better than hearing about a study that's being used to accomplish the things we set out to accomplish with our agency partners. And I heard Dawn talking about how, Dawn McDonald with Lake County Public Schools talking about how she uses it. I've heard Mike talking about it, the chairman mentioned it. And that's just real exciting to us. We're also working on a couple other projects in Lake County. The 561 PD we did several years ago has resulted in a roundabout that I believe is under construction, nearing completion. We're about to wrap up our State Road 19 PD and we're excited about some additional opportunities that for PD and additional planning studies that might be coming in the future, and look forward to continuing our relationship with the great staff at the MPO.
Thank you, Mindy, and I do want a couple of notes. I want to emphasize what a long-standing relationship we have with HDR, and I also want to echo what Stan said earlier. Abra with Jacobs has been with us as a consultant since the beginning, and she's gone through some transitions that fruitfully ended up her at Jacobs, and I wish she could be here tonight because she would be very proud. Next Horizon sponsor is Booth, Ernst, Strawn, and Hyatt. Rob Earn, where are you, my friend?
Thanks, TJ. My name is Rob Earn with Booth, Ernst, Strawn, Hyatt. My partner, Chuck Hyatt, is somewhere here in the room. There he is. My other partner, Senator condolences. They were not able to make it tonight. We're always happy to be a sponsor of this event. We really appreciate the work the MPO does and that you do personally, TJ. It was great to hear what District Secretary Hathaway had to say. We happen to be also on the team on the 561 roundabout that is under construction currently. We were also on the team on the portion of the South Lake Trail that's currently under construction. So we would like to deal with some of those alternative transportation type projects. I want to thank most of the cities and both of the counties here tonight for the continued success of our firm. We've been fortunate enough to do work for just about all of you. And if we haven't done work for you, we're looking forward to doing some work for you. And as a final side note, I happen to also be on the foundation, the Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation Board. Our executive director, Dale Allen, is sitting over here. We're really pushing hard on the Coast to Coast Connector Trail. If you have any questions about that or anything trail related, find Dale and give him 30, 45, 60 minutes of your time. And he'll tell you anything you want to know. Thanks again for having us here tonight.
Thank you, Rob. I want to mention that everybody knows in this bash, Booth, Ernst, Strawn, and Hyatt, but their headquarters is in downtown DeVaries. They've got an office in Sumterville and Sumter County. This is one of those local firms we talk about when we say we like to use local businesses. Duke Energy is a Horizon sponsor, and I have not seen Jerry Miller, but I know most of you know him, and I want to recognize Duke Energy as a sponsor. My friend Pete. Pete Petrie from the Florida Central Railroad. Stand up and tell us what's been going on, Pete.
We've been a little bit busy this year, and as you know, for the past couple of years. First of all, I'd like to introduce Matt Shireen. He's our Assistant General Manager. Matt, he makes things happen on a day-to-day basis, and he's done a phenomenal job during probably one of the largest public-private partnerships for regional transportation, other than Sunrail and some of that we've ever been involved with. We did a large SIS project, thanks to our friends at FDOT. Got to give a little shout out to Fred Wise, who's no longer with us. He's a great advocate, ambassador for rail and FDOT, so everybody sees him, thank you for that. But we went through an $18.4 million SIS economic development project this year that everybody in this room probably had a little bit to do with. So we appreciate all the support of the Eustis, Tavares, Mountain Dora, Lake County, and all of our partners, Orange County, the elected officials that supported that. And again, it's opened up that whole corridor for economic development jobs for the future. So we appreciate everything that everybody in this room does for us. And TJ, we appreciate being a part of an MPO that realizes that the answer is not just highways. You get 4 truckloads in every rail car, folks. So we just got to put a little plug in for ourselves. So, thank you, everybody.
To have a newly improved railroad corridor with good track all the way from Umatilla, Mount Dora, through Eustis, Tavares, to Popkin, and Orlando. Freight, definitely. Maybe one day passenger, we'll see. But the freight, that's our mashed potatoes. If we ever have passenger rail, that's some good gravy. But the mashed potatoes is we're getting jobs because we fixed our infrastructure. Thank you, Pete. Next up, I want to look over to my right, Justin Manson. Let's hear from Kittleson, and we're going to get you a microphone, I hope.
Thank you. Kittleson and Associates, excited to be here again. We've been a sponsor for the last couple of years. With me tonight is Jack Freeman, Jennifer Palacios, and Patty Hurd. Kittleson has been involved in a variety of different activities, both for and with the MPO over the last several years. Some of you are working with us right now. We're helping out with some of the project application forms. We've been interacting with a lot of local agencies lately in that capacity. We've also been involved in some various corridor studies over the last several years. State Road 50 east of Claremont a couple of years ago that included a lot of elements that were discussed tonight in terms of complete streets elements, and trying to look at redefining some of the land use associated with that corridor. We're currently starting a new project on West State Road 50 through Lake Sumter and Hernando County, that corridor as well.
Thank you, Justin. That's awesome. And a lot going on here with Kittleson as well. All right, I'm going to look for Michelle Kendall with Parsons Brinkerhoff. Otherwise, we call you PB. Parsons Brinkerhoff.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kendall. I'm the area manager for Parsons Brinkerhoff in Orlando, Florida. As an urban planner and somebody who used to work for an NPO, I'm always pleased to be here, so thank you, TJ. And I love the concept. The Complete Streets theme this year is fantastic. With me tonight are Ralph Beauvais, who leads our PD&E and planning group, and Chris Ray, who leads our structures group. PV has been very fortunate. I'm fortunate to work for such a wonderful company like so many of you here. We do full service planning, engineering, design. We've had a lot of great projects over the last couple of years. We were pleased to work with VHB over the last year on the US 441 corridor study. We've been working for many years on the Sunrail project, so that's been a blessing, and it's wonderful that that's open now, up and running. And we just finished, if any of you are familiar with International Drive, I drive down in Orlando, which I'm sure all of you are. We finished a great little pedestrian and walkability, pedestrian parking study for that. And as you can imagine from what Secretary Hadaway was just talking about, there's so many issues down there to really have been focused on. So that was really a great project for us. So we've had the good fortune to be working in Central Florida for many years and appreciate the opportunity to be here working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And let's see, where did Andy go? There you are, Andy Nickel with Trans Systems, a longtime partner.
Thank you, TJ. And I'd like to echo everybody else's comments. We're very privileged to be here. This is our 4th or 5th year being a sponsor. And I'm Andy Nickel with the Orlando office of Trans Systems. I'd like to introduce Doug Lynch. He was the project manager on the Safe Routes project. We were fortunate enough to work with Mike Woods and HDR on that project. And Adam Barnum, and Matt McIntosh, and then Steve Aliano, who is also with the Rethink program, but he is a Trans Systems employee. So I really appreciate being here and seeing all the good friends. So, thank you.
Thanks, Andy. So I hope you're getting the flavor here. These are not some companies that go, let me throw some money at this event and hope to get business. These people are already working with us. And I want you all to feel some appreciation that they support this event every year. We appreciate it. Now, real quickly, I'm going to hit the friends of the MPO sponsors. I'm going to look out, just have you stand up and be acknowledged. From Atkins, we have Lance or Matt here. There you go. Good to see you, Lance. Good. And from Inwood, we have, oh, there you are, Dave. Is Jeff here too? All right, Dave, see Dave Graver from Inwood. Let me tell you, Dave has been one of the driving forces while we have a Wakaba Trail project. So thank you very much for that. And also helped with our South Lake Trail project too, didn't you, back in the day? From Lassiter, I know Clay Irvin is here. Hey Clay, he's worked for the town of Howey. I know Sam's couldn't be here, but thank you for being here and a sponsor. And not able to attend, but I want to recognize Traffic and Mobility Consultants LLC. Great that they stepped up and sponsored. We really appreciate that. And I feel like I know who's not on here is Seco. Man, oh, Seco, Kathy Jenkins, stand up. Glad I have a memory. Kathy has a broken wing, but it's going to be working in a couple of days, right? All right. Thank you for the Sumter Electric Cooperative for sponsoring us. Headquartered in Sumterville, in Sumter County, we appreciate that. So hopefully you get a feeling for the broad base of support for this event. And I want to do something real quickly. I wasn't kidding that there's too many elected officials, but before I start with you, if you serve on one of our transportation disadvantage committees, would you stand up and just let us applaud you? I know there's at least 1 or 2 transportation disadvantaged coordinating board members. Thank you. And PD, I see you back there too. So this is a very infrequently heard from group that quietly does an awesome job of making sure that the most vulnerable populations in Sumter and Lake counties receive transportation that go to medical trips, nutrition trips, and so on. So this is one of those things that's very real, very human. You don't hear it in the headlines. Next up, Ryan Donovan, I mentioned as chair, but if you're on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, would you please stand up? It may just be right. Oh, we got, all right, there we go. We've got a couple of things up. Thank you for being here. If you serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee, would you please stand up? Thank you so much for your service. Appreciate that. You guys are awesome. And finally, the Technical Advisory Committee, chaired by Thad this past year. All right, we got several of those. Thank you guys. Lady Lake, Claremont, Howey, and Leesburg. Thank you. And if you're an elected official, please stand up. I just want you to see how many there are in the room. If you're elected, stand up.
All right.
Funny enough, by the end of the evening, probably all of you will be recognized in some way, so we'll see how that goes. if you win an award. I want to now introduce the important people in the room. Will the MPO staff please stand up? All right, I want to acknowledge first and foremost the woman that keeps these grades so gorgeous. She's the one that takes care of the minutia. Nancy Valenzano will play this event. Pat Richmond, who keeps everybody straight, especially the consultants. Francis Franco, who takes care of everything technology. Olga Ramirez, who runs our transportation management system. And I got something special to say about Mike. Mike and his wife Lynn, all these centerpieces, all of this, including the Abbey Road backdrop, that's Mike. So say a special thanks to him. So I think I hit all the important people. And I'm also going to recognize Emiliana's for the catering. Sylvia and Bob Morris, I don't know if they're standing in the room, but thank you for awesome catering tonight. Angie C's photography. Angie, thank you for what you're doing tonight. We actually use your photos, you see. Thank you to the City of Claremont for this Claremont City Center, and thank you to the South Lake Chamber for helping us in the booking of the event. Awesome partners, thank you. And then finally, again, Steve Farrell, you can clap for the opening act, and Randy Paul and Jim Ross. Awesome entertainment tonight. We'll hear from them one more time. And I got to do this just to check, because, yep, we're good. All right. You ready for the awards? All right, I got to mention one thing first. Last year I got so excited I didn't let anybody talk for at least the first 3 awards. When you're given an award, you can actually speak for a second, but just for a second. So we're going to start with Keep Lake Moving. How's that sound? And I love this award because we pit county departments against each other, so we'll start with Lake County. And we're going to have Ken Harley come up, and he's going to tell you a little history about this award and who the nominees are for this year's award. So Ken Harley with Lake County Public Transportation.
Good afternoon. Keep Lake Moving Award. The past recipients of this award in 2012 was Lake County Public Works for the construction of Hook Street, 2013 Parks and Trails for the Lake of Poplar North Shore Overlooking Trailhead, and 2014 Lake County Public Transportation for the Shelter Program. This year's nominees are Economic Development and Tourism for coordination in connecting transportation and economic development, Public Works for construction of the South Lake Trail, Claremont to Groveland, Parks and Trails for completion of the Green Mountain Scenic Overlooking Trailhead.
It's now opening the envelope. Nobody knows the answer to this one.
And the winner this year is Public Works Department for the South Lake Trail, Claremont to Groveland.
All right. Turn it up to Jim Snyder. I'm going to have Ken give the award to Jim and walk over here for a photo op. Walk over to Abbey Road if you would. Come right over there. Let her take your photograph, and then you can come back and say something while I tell people why you got this award. Here's the deal. This thing was not even a thing a couple years ago. Now it's not just the South Lake Trail from here at Lake Shore Park, Lakefront Park, all the way through Hiawassee Preserve, over to South Lake High School. Now it's not just South Lake Trail, it's the Coast to Coast Connect Trail. That's 275 miles from Titusville to St. Petersburg. That's a big deal. So Jim Steiger, come on up and tell us how awesome this project is.
First of all, I have a great staff. That's what makes it all work. Fred Snyder was tenacious about getting this project done. He got money from DOT to construct it and get the right-of-way. He worked with a lot of different agencies. The Claremont, being able to get incorporating the park and the trail together, they go together, they need to be together, so it worked out really good. When it came to building it, Lori Conway and her staff, the inspectors, stayed on top of the job. Balancing that DOT and that inspector and the contractor is always fun, so we made it work, and it's open. And by the way, that little bridge that everyone liked wasn't even originally the plan. He gave you the contractor credit for doing a price reduction on building the bridge. Wow. It was a win-win-win. Thank you all.
And the reason they got that award is always when you see something like that actually constructed and open, and we're about to do a ribbon cutting, and you'll receive an invitation on that. Next up, I'd like to have Richard Byer from Sumter County come up and present the Keep Sumter Moving Award.
Thank you, TJ. Keep Sumter Moving. The past winners in 2012, Public Works for development of the new pavement management program. 2013, County Administration for planning for the Monarch Ranch mega site. 2014, Public Works, Public Transportation for the reorganization division of the department. 2015 nominees were County Administration for planning of the Central Sumter County Road Network. Public Works for effective implementation of the pavement management program, and planning for coordination with municipalities of Sumter County. I'd like the Academy Awards winner is Bradley Arnold, County Administrator, Planning of Central Sumter County Road Network.
Richard, Bradley, can you come over here and get the picture taken a little bit? I wanted to mention the reason this award is given is it's kind of unusual that a high-level person like a county administrator will actually roll up their sleeves and work with us to appropriately plan an entire county road network. And so Bradley has some talents that I really appreciate, and he gets the connection of transportation and economic development, and that's why he is the recipient of this award. Brad, would you like to say anything?
Following Jim's lead, nothing gets accomplished without outstanding staff. We do have a good partnership with the MPO, which helps us lay out future networks. And then, of course, moving through the process with Board of County Commissioners, providing funding and backing allows me to be a little bit more aggressive with folks to get things done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Now we're going to move to the next award, which is the Small Municipality Award, and we're going to have the Mayor of Webster present this one, Mayor Kelly Williams. Are you close by, Kelly? Yes. You're right next to me. I was looking in the right direction. Come on.
It's an honor to present the Horizon Award for the Small Municipality. Past winners include 2012 City of Mascot for commitment of funds for transit along State Road 50. 2013 Center Hill and Webster for Unified Comprehensive Plan with Sumter County. 2014 City of Webster for Scenic Sumter Heritage Byway Local Support. 2015 nominees are City of Groveland for engagement in the State Road 50 realignment project, Town of Howie in the Hills for engagement in the planning of State Road 19, City of Fruitland Park for coordination with Lake County and the villages on the construction of County Road 466A. And the Horizon Award goes to City of Fruitland Park, County Road 466A partnership with Lake County.
All right, we've got Mayor Chris Bell coming up. Kelly, if you and Mayor Bell will walk over and get your photo taken. Anybody else from the city you want to drag up here? Come on, all of you. Why not? It's your city. You just won an award. All right, here they come slowly but surely. So here's the story while they get their picture taken. Back in the day when the impact fees were flowing in, no problem, roads like 466 in Lake County, there in Lady Lake, were getting built through a partnership with the villages and a grant from the state. And then we moved down south to Fruitland Park for 466A, and the recession hits. And so there's been a few years delay, no impact fees coming in for Lake County. But now, between a grant from the state, thank you, Moran, one of those TRIP grants, and partnership with the villages again, and then partnered with Fruitland Park, who has annexed the villages and got the development approval. Now we have 466A moving forward. So Mayor Bell, would you like to say a couple words on that?
It's taken a long time to get to this point. We've still got a long ways to go. But I do want to thank the MPO for all their support for it, the county especially for all their help in this, Jim, appreciate it. And of course, our city manager has been instrumental in helping out a lot of this. Again, just thank you.
Again, we like to see stuff actually happen, and now that we have one piece on the east being built by Lake County and one piece on the west being built by the villages, now we just got to get that middle 1.5 miles built. Next up, the large municipality award, and we're going to bring up from Lady Lake, last year's winner, Commissioner Dan Vincent, who sits on the Lake Sumter MPO governing board. Dan Vincent.
It's my pleasure to give you the Large Municipality Horizon Award. The past winners have been the City of Mineola for the completion of the US 27 Park and Ride facility. The 2013 City of Mount Dora for leadership on a US 441 study. And last, 2014, the town of Lady Lake for the Rolling Acres Sidewalk Project. Now I'm going to give you the nominees for the 2015 award. It's the City of Claremont for the branding Choice of Champions. The City of Traverse for the Albert Street, Caroline Street, and multimodal project. And the City of Traverse for the installation of sidewalks within the proximity of schools.
That one was Eustis.
Eustis.
Yes, and now the envelope.
Drum roll. Yeah, I'm proud to present the City of Traverse as the winner.
All right. Today's City Manager John Murray's here. He's going to come up and take a picture with Dan as I hand the plaque over to Dan. Here you go. They're going to take a picture. Here's why. Have you driven yet through Tiberias? They took two streets that were both two-way. One of them was really busy, which was Alfred. That was old 441. And they split the traffic one way, eastbound on Alfred and westbound on Caroline. What that did for their downtown in Tiberias is now the humans are okay. You can cross safely, you can bike, you can ride your golf cart, it all works. And this was in partnership, it wasn't a City of Tiberias alone project. We're awarding the transportation side. There was a lot more involved, and John Drury will tell you about it.
TJ, thank you very much. Was not expecting this at all. Used to call us and tell us if we were going to win so we could prepare. Don't do that anymore. Boy, hearing the Secretary talking about the new way to deal with streets and remembering this project that we did at Tiberias, taking 2-lane roads, old city with the buildings right up to the sidewalks, and the community saying we've got to do something. And then looking at what is recommended and looking at what Besh did for us and the county, Jim Stivender and the Board of County Commission working with us and partnering us to do exactly what you recommended. From the traffic circle in the downtown, that people were just, you know, the study says that if most people are against traffic circles until you build them, and then afterwards you ask them, and most people are for them after they're built. That's what happened here. But we did, as TJ pointed out, take 2-lane roads. People were zipping downtown, bisecting our community. It wasn't working. We turned into 1-lane road. We did the parking. We did the sidewalks. We did the streetscape. We're still doing the streetscape, bringing the lighting in, calming everything down, creating a walkable community. It's been a tremendous project and a great partnership with Lake County, our engineers, Besh, thank you, Rob Earn, for all the hard work you did on that. So thank you for the award. Appreciate it.
I want to emphasize again, he mentioned Jim Stodiger and Lake County Public Works. They managed this. They had to deal with so many different elements. I started to make a separate plaque just for Jim, but then I thought, well, we just gave him an award, so he's all right. I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to recognize a couple more people. Secretary of our district, District 5, Noreen Downs. Will you just be acknowledged for a moment as our district secretary? She's going to come up here together. Well, I want to acknowledge her, and I want to acknowledge a very important colleague and friend to this MPO, Harry Barley with Metro Plan Orlando. Now, Harry's MPO is slightly different than this one. We're pretty cool, 2 counties, really awesome counties. He's got 3. He's got Orange, Osceola, and Seminole, so he's a slightly bit busier than I am, but it's okay. You know, projects like rebuilding I-4, completing the Beltway around Orlando, Sunrail, you know, stuff like that. So Harry and Gary Hutman with Metro Plan Orlando will recognize you as well. Thank you. All right, I'm going back to the script, and I will find it here in a moment. We're going to go to the next award. This is where it gets good, by the way. We started this one just 3 years ago. We said, you know, it's nice to recognize a couple cities in both counties, but what's really the cool stuff? What's exemplary? Which is one of those words that's fun to say, exemplary. Well, the exemplary planning policy is one of those where some elected body has taken some action and made a big deal. And here in a moment, we'll talk about exemplary planning project. But let's start off with this one. Last year's winner, City of Mineola. Can I have Vice Mayor Pam Service come up? City of Mineola won it last year, and she'll tell you why, and I appreciate it, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Past winners for 2012 is the City of Mount Dora for the Envision Mount Dora Visioning Exercise. 2013, Florida Black Bear Scenic Byway Corridor Management Entity for the Scenic Byway Corridor Master Plan. 2014, the City of Mineola for creation of Mineola Mountain Community Redevelopment Area. 2015 nominees are Lake County Community Services for development of the Mount Plymouth Sorrento Community Redevelopment Area, City of Mount Dora and Town of Ostatula for supporting the extension of the Green Mountain Scenic Byway through their communities, Lake County Growth Management and Economic Development and Tourism for transmittal of the Wellness Ways Sector Plan for state review. And the winner is Lake County Growth Management and Lake County Economic Development and Tourism for Wellness Ways Sector Plan.
All right. So there's Robert Taylor and Erica Green and Chris Schmidt. Well, Erica, come on up here too. I want to put you on. Come on up and receive the awards. We've got one for each department. And if you'll step over here, Pam, with the winners and get your photo, we'll have you come back and comment here for a moment. But I want to mention a sector plan. Y'all ever heard of a big planned unit development, 1,200, 2,000 homes? That's a big deal. Well, what about a development of regional impact, where you've got, say, 8,000 homes? That's pretty important, right? Well, what about a sector plan where you've got 16,000 acres already with the potential for 16,000 homes? That's what Lake County's been changing. The old comp plan from the late 80s, early 90s, that would have allowed sprawl in South Lake, from basically Claremont south of Four Corners. The sector plan is taking a whole different tack to land use. So we felt like that kind of transmittal of policy to the state for review during 2014, that's a big deal. And we want to recognize Lake County. Here's what happened. Growth Management, Chris, and his boss, Amy King, as well as Robert with Economic Development and Tourism, and Erica, who's working with them, they all partnered as departments to make this thing work, because it wasn't just how many houses, how many acres. It was, how do we do jobs to housing better? Turn it over to Robert first.
Well, thank you very much. As Commissioner Parks said earlier, this took a lot of different organizations to get done. So we want to thank City of Claremont, thank MPO, thank Growth Management. When they handed this over to us, they said, there's really no chance this gets done if you let planners do it. So they said, why don't economic development take it? So we were happy to take this and get it done. All right, Chris. I'm glad you were recognized tonight for helping us with our project. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure how I can follow that, but you really don't want to give a planner a microphone to begin with, so I want to thank everyone for all the relationships that we had to get this done, and hopefully we'll continue those great relationships. Thank you.
It's really nice to be able to give an award that truly exemplified teamwork and good policy, and I applaud Lake County for those steps. And I believe that that sector plan is due for a March approval potentially by the Lake County Commission. Next up is the exemplary planning project, and this is going to be a good one. I want to bring up Debbie Steibinger from Lake County School Board, our chairman in Lake County of the school board, and she's going to present the past winners and the new winners. That's your mic. It's on.
Okay, now that we've played around for 5 minutes, the past winners, the 2012 was the Florida Department of Transportation, District 5 and South Lake Chamber for development of the State Road 50 multimodal corridor study. In 2013, it was the Florida Central Railroad, Lake County Water Authority, the City of Tiberias again, City of Eustis again, and Lake County for the Dora Canal Bridge construction project. In 2014, it was the Sumter County School Board and the Lake County School Board for their support of Safe School Access Transportation Study. Your nominees for 2015 are the City of Mount Dora for construction of the Tremaine Street Greenway project, East Central Florida Regional Planning Council for development of the Central Florida Safe Routes to School web portal, thank you very much, the Sumter Landing Bicycle Club and the South Lake Chamber for attaining the League of American Bicyclists Silver and Bronze Awards, respectively, as bicycle-friendly communities. And your winner is the City of Mount Dora, Tremaine Street Greenway.
All right, we have Ryan Donovan, council member from the City of Mount Dora, who's also in our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and we'll take the photo with him. And I'm going to figure out what happened to my other mic in the meantime. Thank you, Francis. And I want to mention, if you haven't been over there yet, Tremaine Street's right in the core of downtown. This is open. It's really interesting that they took a normal residential street on a grid system, historic downtown, and they converted it to a one-way street going north with a two-way bike path, emphasizing the need for the humans in the right-of-way. And that bike path, Tremaine, just coincidentally happens to connect to the south to the future connector, Wakava Trail, to the Coast to Coast Trail. So, Ryan.
Thank you, TJ. First, I'd like to say all of these projects are incredible that are up here. I happen to be a little bit of part of all of them, so it's an honor and great projects. I'd like to thank our soon-to-be retired city manager, Mr. Michael Quinn, for his vision on this project, our planning director, Mark Ragatine, our mayor, Kathy Host, and our entire city council. It is a great project. Come up and ride, and I promise you nobody is driving on the bike path from home.
Awesome. You know, I'm so proud to say this we're on schedule. It's so awesome to me. Those of you that know me, you know, and I want to make this point real quick. I haven't said this the whole night. I'm going to pause again because we've only got 3 left. Monday marked 10 years ago that I interviewed with the Lake Sumter MPO Governing Board. And there's only one board member left that was on that board, and that's Welton Cadwell, who was here earlier and had to leave. So 10 years later, I just want you to know that I feel blessed. I never would have imagined having a job for 10 years back when I was 33. But here, 10 years later, a whole decade of all the relationships, all the amazing, I mean, I've actually gotten to see things built. I didn't think that was ever going to happen back in the old days. And I want to thank you all that have known me for a while, that my youthful zealousness that you tolerated is slowly being replaced with thoughtful brevity. And I know that those of you know me that you really appreciate that. I'd like to bring up Commissioner Leslie Campion, our chair-elect of the MPO, to introduce our Volunteer of the Year, which is not a nomination-based award.
Okay, past winners of Volunteer of the Year, 2012, Dick Listowka, Citizens Advisory Committee Representative for Sumter County. 2013, Rich Dunkel, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee member for Lake County District 4. 2014, George Rosario, Citizens Advisory Committee Representative for the City of Groveland. In 2015, this award goes to a volunteer who has diligently participated in the MPO process as a dedicated member of the Lake County Transportation Disadvantaged Coordinating Board. This volunteer rarely, if ever, misses a meeting. This volunteer is pragmatic, tenacious, passionate, and when dealing with issues regarding transportation for disadvantaged folks in our county, it's very important to have these traits and qualities. So I get to announce the winner. And the really neat thing is that after you hear her name, I can tell you the reason I know how to pronounce it is because in 1982 we graduated from Eustis High School together. And her name is Bibi Shadouz.
Thank you, Commissioner. Bibi's walking up. If you'll get your picture taken, and we'll have Bibi come over. These awards are fun because my staff and I get together and we really have a thorough series of conversations about these last 3 awards. And Bibi was one that there was a lot of passion that this is a person that when you think of someone volunteering for the right reasons, understand what the Transportation Disadvantage Program is. Again, we're back to the very real humans that are part of our community that need transportation and have no options. So we appreciate everything that she's done. Bibi, would you like to say a few words? She doesn't want to, but she will do it.
I am stunned. Thank you very much. I am honored and pleased to serve as a citizens advocate, and I would really like to share this with everyone on the TV board because they've been very patient in putting up with my, yes, sometimes tenacious questions. I ask a lot of questions and I offer a lot of comments because I do want to understand what we can do to better provide transportation for the individuals who really need access to some good public transportation, which we are able to provide. So, you know what this means, everyone on the board? I'm going to continue to ask a lot of questions. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Bibi. That's what we want. That's wonderful. All right, we've got 2 awards left, and I'm going to have now Secretary of our DOT District 5, Naran Downs, to come up and present our Regional Partner Award.
Thank you, TJ. And before I do that, how many in here think that TJ deserves a round of applause for all of this?
Yeah.
With that, past winners. 2012, Sumter County Chamber of Commerce and Chamber Alliance of Lake County. 2013, FDOT Central Office and FDOT District 5. 2014, Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. So for 2015, the award goes to a regional partner that has supported the MPO and Sumter and Lake counties in the development of a project that is elevated this year to a project of certified significance. And the winner is Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation, Inc., Coast to Coast Connector.
Dale Allen. So give us your picture taken over there, Naran, and let me hand you the. There you go. And I'll take that. And let me mention real quickly that I think you all have already picked up on this Coast to Coast thing. Have we mentioned that tonight? It's a big deal. And why is it a big deal? Because when you do that in Florida, with our weather, and all these communities, and all the real Florida real close that Lake County talks about with their tourism department, and the fact that, have you been over in Sumter? I mean, this is natural as it gets. The Withlacoochee State Forest, the Green Swamp. This is going to be a big deal to bring people that say, you mean I won't get killed on a bicycle when I go to Florida? Because I can stay on a trail for 275 miles. Dale Allen.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. The Coast to Coast Connector project came about 3 years ago. It's only been 3 years since this idea first emerged to link all the locally significant trails in Central Florida together into a 275-mile network. And that overnight success of the Coast to Coast Connector, and it is being built now and will be completed within the next 5 to 6 years, is a result of the tremendous partners that we have working with us on this project. First of all, I want to acknowledge the members of my board of directors, because we're all volunteers. Rob Earn and Michael Woods, two members of my board, give up several days every quarter to attend these meetings and be part of this process. Thank you for keeping this ball rolling. I want to thank the MPOs, because you really made it happen. When you all came together and voted this to be your top priority, Secretary Prasad in Tallahassee said, I don't think this has ever happened before. So thank you for your unanimous support for this project and getting it done. It's really made a big difference. But I want to mostly point out that the partner on this that has really contributed the most to finishing this project is Florida Department of Transportation. The foundation this year voted to give them our 30-year Legacy of Accomplishment Award. Because you may not know this, but the very first rail trail conversion project in the state of Florida was built by the Florida Department of Transportation in 1985. It was the St. Mark's Trail. They operated it for a while, and they turned it over to the Department of Environmental Protection to operate. One of the other attributes that we've got going on the coast to coast is that many of the big bridge projects across the turnpike as part of the West Orange Trail were built. This is extremely significant when the bridges are in place and you're just trying to connect all that stuff together. So this is something that we hope will significantly transform the state of Florida in the way you think about mobility and moving around in a non-motorized form. And I must mention the most significant thing that may help us realize this vision of a statewide, regionally connected trail system. And there's really 2,000 miles in the top 10 trails all over Florida that if built will link Pensacola all the way to Jacksonville and Key West. It's really doable. About 600 of those miles are in place of the 2,000-mile network. And Amendment 1 can be used for this project. So I would hope that you would take the time to look at the recreational trail provision of Amendment 1, talk to your legislator about this. There is a tremendous amount of support right now. Thanks to Senate President Andy Gardner for his leadership on this topic, and to the Department of Transportation for making this possible. This is really within our grasp. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you to the foundation. And I want to mention that their role continues to evolve, that we're going to move forward on, again, how to identify and brand and make it to where you know you're on the coast to coast, regardless of which county. And when you mention this privatization, think about this. 6 MPOs with 10 counties over here, plus the Tampa region. We all got together and said, let's do this thing. Thank you, Dale. That's major. That's why he's the regional partner and why the foundation is. All right, past Mayor of Mount Dora, Robert Thelhelm. I'd like for you to give out the Horizon Award for Leadership, our final award of the evening.
Thank you, TJ. Past winners in 2013, Jennifer Hill, former Lake County Commissioner. In 2013, Leslie Campione, current Lake County Commissioner. In 2014, I had the honor to receive was the recipient of this award. For 2015, the award goes to a person who continues to serve the MPO and continues to provide leadership, strengthening the relationships between Sumter County and Lake County. And a personal note that I can add, my years of service on the MPO, I will say that this individual not only strengthened the relationships between our two counties, he was instrumental in a lot of the work that we were able to achieve during that time, my time on the MPO. The winner is Don Burgess.
Secretary Commissioner Don Burgess, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have your picture taken together. Let me hand you this. This is a really pretty one, notice. They're going to get their picture taken. I want to mention Don has been on the MPO since he joined the Sumter County Commission. He was kind enough to say, let me serve, since we need some Sumter County representation, let me serve on your executive committee. And he took the second vice chair spot and rotated to the first vice chair and the chair-elect, and then he was chairman and past chairman. So he should have been done. We gave him a 2-year break. We said, come on back, Don. And he said, I'll do it. So Don Burgess, thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Considering an old boy from Cuba, got all the way up here, this is amazing. I really appreciate this. And you know, when I look back on it, this is one of the responsibilities that I've had that I really have had a lot of fun at. This is meeting an awful lot of people who are concerned, very concerned about our communities. And it goes beyond transportation and roads. And what I've heard tonight, talking about all the coast-to-coast roads and things like this is important. It's important to all of our communities. And I'm very appreciative. And I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. I personally have enjoyed having him and his leadership for the NPO. It's given me a lot more confidence in what I do to have that type of leadership. And, you know, there's a lot I could say, but guys, it's 8:30, we did it. Good night.